Hello, everyone. Good morning, and a very hearty welcome. It's great to see so many of you at 10 a.m., given the traffic here. So really appreciate you making it. And today, we have a lot of great presentations from our partners and sponsors. So I'll just get the clicker. Just hold on. So I'm Pallavi Priyadarshini, and I lead engineering for a portfolio of at OpenSearch that includes search, security, releases. And I'm also a member of the technical steering committee at OpenSearch. I'm super excited to bring this talk to you today. So I'm going to talk about the evolution of search at OpenSearch in the world of agentic AI. And this evolution has largely been possible due to the vector database capabilities of OpenSearch. And I'm honored to share the keynote with Sreedhar Gade, who is the Vice President of Engineering at Freshworks, and he will come up here later. First, I would like to give a big shout out to our gold sponsors, Atlassian and AWS. Thank you so much for your support. I'd also like to thank our bronze sponsors, Pulse, Dr. Droid, and Siglens. Let's give another round of applause to all of our sponsors. We truly could not have made this conference possible without your support, so thank you so much. Be sure to stop by the Solutions Showcase after any time today, tomorrow, to connect with our sponsors and representatives from their companies. Quick reminder to follow the code of conduct throughout today and tomorrow. You can see the full schedule with this QR code. This QR code is also available at the back of your conference badges. This is the Wi-Fi details in case you have not already connected. Again, this information is available at the back of your badges. And very important, we really hope that you will share your experience at OpenSearch today and tomorrow on social media. And these are our handles. Please tag your posts with hashtag OpenSearchCon in case you post. And very important, join us for the party tonight. There's a search party after all the sessions complete in the daytime. And that's in the Solutions Showcase area. And we really look forward to seeing you there. I'm pretty sure after that, you're headed straight to watch the IPL finals. Go RCB. So OpenSearch has become a worldwide phenomenon. A proof of that is the number of locations our maintainers come from. They all belong to different organizations. And this pool of maintainers has been growing steadily, extending to more locations and more companies. How many of you in the crowd are OpenSearch project maintainers, any repo, or have contributed code to OpenSearch? Thank you. Please raise your hands, like the code contributors and maintainers. I want to see a quick show of hands. I'm sure there are more folks. Yeah? Okay. Thank you so much. I mean, without your contributions, OpenSearch innovations would not have been possible. So really appreciate all the effort that the maintainer and the contributor community puts towards the innovations in OpenSearch. Apart from the focusing on innovations in code, we do participate in a lot of industry events, again worldwide. There are meetups, community meetups happening across the globe. And OpenSearchCon also has expanded quite a bit. 1 month ago, we finished OpenSearchCon EU in Amsterdam. We are here in India, and We are going next. OpenSearchCon will go to Silicon Valley in San Jose in September, followed by Korea. Right? So this is a great way to connect the members of OpenSearch community together. Since we last came to India in 2024, a lot has happened in terms of community growth. And here's a snapshot. We have done 6 more releases. And the most noteworthy release is OpenSearch 3.0, which released almost a month ago. It's the first major version release in almost 3 years we did. Even the other statistics around community growth in terms of downloads, the growth in the Slack participation, et cetera, is super exciting. But personally, what is most exciting to me is the number of organizations that are contributing code to OpenSearch. So as you can see, we've had code contributions from 225 organizations so far. And the community of OpenSearch has really grown ever since we moved to the Linux Foundation. And OpenSearch was moved to the Linux Foundation in September of 24. And after that, obviously, we have seen a lot of growth. It was meant to promote a vendor-neutral community. And we have seen that growth in terms of external contributors coming to OpenSearch. When the OpenSearch Software Foundation was formed, we have several members who participate, including AWS, Atlassian, Uber, SAP, NetApp, etc. So there are 16 total members in the OpenSearch Software Foundation, and we recently welcomed 4 new members: ByteDance, DataStax, which is now IBM, DTEX, and CCOM. So we have a governing board, and we have a technical steering committee. And between the governing board and technical steering committee, they handle all the workings of the OpenSearch Foundation. The website, the OpenSearch project website, and GitHub have also been transferred to the Linux Foundation. So this is the most exciting part of the talk, which is how the open source community has really helped evolve search at OpenSearch. And search is really the heart of what OpenSearch does, be it search of your real-time data or search of your logs or observability data. OpenSearch is best-in-class keyword/textual search engine built on Apache Lucene. So when the Gen AI LLM boom happened in late 2022, early 2023, OpenSearch was ready, largely because of its vector database capabilities. So OpenSearch was quick to roll out new features in the semantic search space, which basically extends your searches. You're not just looking at pure keyword matches, but we're looking at the semantic meaning, the intent behind the queries. And then with hybrid search capabilities, OpenSearch was able to combine the precision of keyword search with the intelligence of semantic search. And as the models evolved, the models became more sophisticated. We added multimodal search support, which allows you to search across text, images, audio, etc. And the latest trend in the world of search is around conversational search and agentic AI-based search. So with conversational search, you're really looking at natural language interfaces for your search. And with the agentic world that we are now in, OpenSearch allows integration with different agents, helping you construct autonomous search workflows. And all this evolution, the fast pace, like we're really pushing the boundaries of search deeper, and it's made possible because of our community, the OpenSearch community. We have external contributors like ByteDance, Uber, Atlassian contributing in this space, right? And another reason why the search really took off, like the evolution of search, was the power of OpenSearch as a vector database. So with the OpenSearch vector engine, you can take any kind of data, unstructured data like documents, images, videos, etc., create chunks out of it, use transformer models to create those vector embeddings that get indexed into OpenSearch as KNN indices. And then your data becomes available for your AI ML applications. And here in the vector space, NVIDIA and Uber have been collaborating with us to improve the offering. So the vector engine has really opened up new paradigms for search. I kind of already talked through how we went through the journey, semantic, hybrid, multimodal. And recently, we also unveiled sparse model-based searches. And we are embracing sparse models because it uses lightweight deep learning techniques to improve textual search with some weights. And it doesn't really need heavy compute, et cetera, to create dense vectors. So we are seeing a lot of adoption of sparse models as well. So apart from the core vector engine innovations, OpenSearch also has a rich ecosystem of AI ML connectors. So we offer out-of-the-box integration with model providers such as DeepSeek, Cohere, OpenAI. In fact, our integration frameworks are so flexible. When DeepSeek came out, we were able to offer a connector in 2 days. ByteDance has been helping us in this space to add more connectors as we go. So along with the core engine, vector engine, and the ecosystem of the AI ML connectors that we have, OpenSearch is able to power conversational search with chatbot kind of interfaces. And recently, we also added the model context protocol support, which makes OpenSearch integrate with other agents very easily. So the most recent release that happened, which is OpenSearch 3.0, a month ago, was a leap forward in this vector database, Gen AI, and agentic space. We launched, I already mentioned, we launched the native MCP support for agentic AI. Hybrid search, we improved performance and accuracy. For vector workloads, we offer GPU acceleration for accelerating your index build times, which is typically compute intensive. So with GPU acceleration, our benchmarks have shown that we are able to accelerate the index builds by about 9x and reduce the cost by 3x. And then there are other cost performance improvements as a vector database because we are seeing a growth in billion scale vector workloads. So an example is the derived source for vectors, where we remove the redundant vector source data, which saves storage by almost 1/3. So while we are doing all these innovations in the Gen AI vector database space, we want to make sure that the core OpenSearch search and indexing engine is also super performant. So with OpenSearch 3.0, we did a Lucene upgrade. So Lucene 10 is the most performant Lucene release till date. And it does a lot of parallelization of your different operations. We also upgraded Java to take advantage of the most latest language capabilities. And then there were strategic improvements we did to targeted query operations, as well as across the board things like enabling concurrent segment search. We enable it by default now. Then we offer star tree indices that improves the performance of complex queries like aggregation. So as a result of all these innovations in the performance space, the query latencies have drastically reduced. The index build times have also improved. Picture speaks 1,000 words. So this is a graph of our benchmarks, which kind of shows that release over release, we are hyper-focused on performance because our users want to get the most out of OpenSearch, and we are dealing a lot with new age workloads which have like millisecond latencies. So release after release, we are improving the query latencies, so much so that the 3.0 that GA'd recently is almost 9.5x faster than the last release in the OpenSearch one line, which was 1.3. So while we are invested in the search, the agentic, Gen AI, vector database, etc., and performance of the core engine, we have not taken the eyes off the architecture, the fundamental architecture of OpenSearch. We want to make sure that the OpenSearch architecture can scale for the long term. And we have accelerated our move towards a true cloud-native architecture in open source. We already had the remote store in open source. We recently introduced the reader-writer separation for better isolation of workloads. We unveiled gRPC protobuf for more efficient data transport between clients and server. We introduced pull-based ingestion that allows decoupling of producers and consumers and OpenSearch to scale better when there are spikes in ingestion traffic. And all of this, while we are working on the foundational pieces, security is a very important part of our foundation. So we make sure that whatever we do, we are constantly improving the security posture. So Java Security Manager is getting deprecated. So the team worked on alternatives for Java Security Manager to make sure that we keep the security posture in open source intact. So along with search and the foundational upgrades that we have been doing, observability is another area where we are making significant progress. So an example is powerful upgrades to PPL capabilities with the recent integration with Apache Calcite as a query engine. We also launched Query Insights that allows you to monitor your queries. And then we want Discover to become the central point of your analytics for OpenSearch. So from within Discover, we are allowing complex flows like anomaly detection. So all in all, OpenSearch 3.0 really elevates the vector database, agentic AI, performance, and observability capabilities of OpenSearch. Now, I would like to turn it over to Sreedhar Gade, who is the Vice President of Engineering at Freshworks, to talk about how Freshworks is harnessing these innovations to build the next-gen search platform.
Good morning, everyone. So it's wonderful to be presenting as first or second presenter in Bangalore, where the conference is starting at 10 a.m. So how many of you started around 8 a.m.? Pretty much half of the room. And 7? Awesome. So I started yesterday because I had to fly down from Hyderabad. So I think a lot of great insights from what Pallavi spoke, and then I'm going to bring in the from the customer point of view, Freshworks. We're going to talk about the company and then our use cases and where we are implementing all the great stuff with OpenSearch. But essentially, I'm going to open up a little bit of a playbook of Freshworks, what we have been doing over the last 15 years, and then how OpenSearch has been at the center, core of our tech stack. Right? That's me. And so I want to start the presentation with this slide. So this is basically our philosophy of what do we look at when we actually bring in a new technology into our tech stack. And like you will see the scale at which we operate at Freshworks, like with 75,000 customers across the world, 120 countries, 40 plus different languages that we support our products in. But then we look at all these pillars just to make sure that they check all these boxes before we actually index this. right? And this is a philosophy for a new tech. It's also for the existing tech. And then the tech has to continue to prove itself to actually stay in all these boxes. Otherwise, it's out of the way, because the kind of scale, reliability the enterprise is expecting these days is actually only growing by the factor of 10x every single year. So a little bit about the company, so that you understand what type of business we do, what kind of products we build, and then so it's a nice segue into the problems we solve, so you can actually kind of connect the dots and be able to understand exactly what we do. So Freshworks was founded in 2010 by Girish at Chennai, and then we started as a single product company, and then went on to grow, and then went public in the US. And Freshworks is the first SaaS product company to have started in India and going public in the US. Yeah. We are super proud about it, and then we went on scaling into multiple products, and then obviously the geographical reachability, and then the number of our languages that we support and everything else. And now we are looking at the next phase of our journey to see like how we can tap into the generative AI wave that is actually everybody is taking it. So if you look at our journey overall, so we started as a single product company, and the company's name itself was Freshdesk, right? We were in customer support software. We wanted to build a software that is a turnkey for customers, where there's almost no configuration requirement whatsoever. You pay for it, deploy it, and then basically starts working for you from the next minute. And that's the simplicity. And if you look at it, the mission of most of the founders, hey, I want to empower top, like say Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 1000, but our founder had a dream of empowering Fortune 5 million companies, which means we want to this overreach across all these enterprises, and also mid-market, also SMB, so that it kind of makes sense for everyone in terms of the features as well as the price point. So in next, like this is the core, crux of this presentation is basically, what has been our journey with, OpenSearch, what are the different use cases where we have implemented it, and then also the opportunities and challenges that we went through with the scale, and how did we go to 1.0 to 2.0, and now we are talking about generative AI, multi-agents, and everything else. We're going to talk about all that great stuff. Right? So historically, like I said, we are a SaaS company where we have two streams of products. One is on customer support, other one is an ITSM and employee experience. So we call it a CX and EX. So in both these areas, OpenSearch historically helped us support the search, the basic search functionality across our product. So when you speak about scale, we are talking about petabytes of data sitting across 5 different regions we are hosted in, and supporting multiple, like more than 100 countries. So when this comes to that kind of scale, the challenges become amplified, and that's where it becomes like very interesting for us. Apart from search, we also use it for observability. So Freshworks built our observability full stack in-house, right? Historically, we used Datadog, Sumo Logic, New Relic, and various other tech. But then eventually, we ended up actually building using the OpenTelemetry and Grafana. Today, we collect close to 300 to 350 terabytes of log data per day, right? And then with the retention of close to a month, we are talking about 15 to 20 petabytes of data at any point of time for users to be able to query and then build charts and insights on top of it. It's all on OpenSearch today, right? So so here is the scale. So we are talking about 14 billion writes, 3 billion reads per month as of 2025. The interesting and a very exciting part for my team is this grows very fast, like 10x every year. Right? So, and then we are talking about number of nodes, what kind of scale, right? We are talking about the latency and cost. So, though we are at this point, both for observability and search, we are able to serve at probably the lowest price point when we compare with the commercial use cases or commercial companies. But then, hey, if you want to grow this company, today we are almost reaching 1 billion revenues. Tomorrow we want to go to 5 billion or 10 billion, and we want to be able to actually empower all these use cases. Then we want to actually become more effective and more cost effective. So this scale itself became an opportunity for us, right? And then that's actually led us to start thinking about more solutions. So we said, okay, fine, Elasticsearch to OpenSearch, right? How about let's do that, right? We have been partners with AWS for forever since the company was founded. It started in AWS and then actually kept growing together, right? And then how about actually we use a native service where there's a little overhead, but I think a very extreme scalability. So it was a great journey, but when the migration happened, we were talking about excellent cost savings. Everybody, if there is a cost saving, it's a byproduct, but we take it, right? So second one is the latency, right? So since we are talking about scale of 10x every single time, so latency drop by 50% is huge for all of us, for us, our customers, everyone else. And we are talking about the node reduction. We were talking about the scoring and ranking, and then the icing on the cake was a vector database. So 2022, when ChatGPT came by, everyone started moving from the traditional ML to the generative AI, and then we started looking for a vector database solution. We went into the market, looked at multiple different. Nowadays, everyone is building vector databases. So we did multiple 5 to 10 different databases. So looked at cost, performance, scalability, and everything else. All the first slide that you looked at it, but then OpenSearch came on top, right? And it was to our surprise, and also it was very nice to hear, because the rest of our search data was in OpenSearch, and then if the vector database is also kind of an extension, then can we give the company and our customers the hybrid search experience where everything goes from single database. So whether you are searching for text, searching for videos, audio, or you're doing a conversational, you talk to your data kind of scenario in our data lake, everything goes through OpenSearch, right? So in a way, I think we were super excited to see the capabilities across the board. And then when you are scaling at this level, at one single solution can do so many things, it actually makes your life a lot more easier. So with that journey, we went from 1.0 to 2.0. And 2.0, when you look at it, I think we saw this slide a little bit, but I think this is in kind of application. We are at now generative AI scenario where while we built OpenSearch with the intent of building vector databases only for generative AI use cases, right? So we have a generative AI suite of products called Freddy AI. So it goes into 3 different streams. One is, we call it Copilot. Copilot is about augmenting a human agent ability to do our business better, right? So they are creating articles. They are actually responding to customer queries. Like, for example, I'm a customer supportive executive for Airtel or Paytm, so right, so or PhonePe, there are customers. So basically, the Copilot will help them look at the entire history of what's happening with that particular case, and then actually comes up with the emails or messages that they need to automatically respond to. Second one is, we call it agent. Now everybody is talking about agents, right? So but it's a self-service where you substitute the human agent. You don't have to even reach the human agent. As a customer of my customer, I can talk to the AI agent and get all my problems resolved. For example, I'm a help desk. I have a problem with my Mac. The AI agent will actually log into your Mac. It will look at the issue and it will solve it for you, and then it will restart, and then you're actually good to go, right? All kinds of multimodal capabilities. Third one is insights. Insights is all about you have petabytes of data, but giving reports with beautiful charts will only complicate the C-suite's situation, because reports doesn't tell you what needs to be done. So insights was all about doing RCA on the data and then actually exactly giving you the points in terms of what you need to do. Say, for example, I had a 10% dip in my sales in April. It will tell you exactly why it happened and what you need to do actually to bring it back up. Stuff like that. So these are the 3 different generative AI use cases. All of them, the search is powered by OpenSearch today, and then eventually we are scaling that vector databases into hybrid search, where everything, like you're talking about lexical, we're talking about multimodal or AI based, all the search data is actually now coming from the same source, right? So here is what, like when you're talking about generative AI, how many of you are in some form or shape are actually working with generative AI today at your work? Okay, and how many of you use generative AI for your personal productivity? Right. So most of the folks ask me, hey, I keep hearing generative AI will take away my jobs. I said, like, generative AI will not take away your jobs, but a person knowing generative AI will take away his job. So I'm glad to see that over time, like pretty much everybody actually lifted their hands when you speak about personal productivity or a company's productivity. And but here is the use case. If you look at it, with the generative AI, everything is a conversation because it's all NLP. So the way neural network model is actually built to understand human language, mostly English, but now we are extending to multiple different languages. Once you ask the model or the agent what you need, and then agent will go and actually try and fetch your intent. What do you actually mean? For example, I'm saying I go to a travel company website and say I want to book a ticket to Bali. Then that's all you'll say, right? And then the agent has to go and figure out your profile and automatically actually come up with when is the next holiday coming back, or like when is the cheapest tickets are there next 1 month, and come back with everything that a human agent would do plus, right? And then you actually do the actions. This is the 3-step process. So if you look at it, if we get the center box right, the actions are going to be legitimate, and then the whole flow is going to be successful. But if there is a hallucination in the center box, and that's going to increase the number of iterations for the user. And that's why these finding the intent and relevance is such an important factor in the whole gamut of things for people to even trust that generative AI can actually be a solution for our product or our problem to solve. And that's exactly the problem we are trying with OpenSearch to solve, is that how do we actually get the right relevance and be able to actually make the search so federated, so hybrid, that just by one line of a question, I'll be able to actually come up with an action that is very close to what user is looking to solve. Right? And then you're talking about real-time, relevant, and obviously security. Security is all about trust. Your models drift. Your competitors are looking to do prompt injections and make your models be try to behave different and everything else. So safety, security, privacy is definitely very, very important, and that's the foundation of the whole model. Right? So there are a couple of use cases that I'll actually walk you through. So this one is about a feature called similar incidents in our product called Freshservice. So Freshservice is an ITSM tool where it actually lets you connect to an observability system where basically inputs all alerts, and then alert becomes incidents depending upon the gravity and complexity of the issue. Incident will become, once it is actually resolved, it becomes a problem ticket, and you can also use it to manage your changes in both production and non-production. So every time that an incident happens, for a human agent or the tech support person, right? You'll have to look at it and find out, hey, have I done this before? So using AI and using our semantic and hybrid search, we are able to actually go to the database, petabytes of data, and actually tell them that, hey, this happened like 10 times in the past, and this is what you did to actually fix it. Do you want me to go and apply the fix? Right? And the relevance and how accurate your similar search, it depends upon how how close that the incidents are, and eventually the amount of work that agent needs to do to whenever the incident happens goes down progressively and exponentially. Right? So this is one example we have seen in production, extremely working well, and there's a great feedback from our customers. The second one is our Freddy AI agent. So agent, in the past life, it is called bots, right? So bots are glorified version of IVR. We used to have call the phone and then say, hey, press 1 to do this, 3. So there is a flow, defined flow. So the bots also used to have a flow, but with the generative AI coming in, there's no flow. So we initially call them flowless bots. Then now we call them agents, because you can ask any question in the flow, right, at any step, and then it will actually try to find out and give you the right answer that user is actually looking for. And here, if you look at it, it basically is talking about, hey, I need to submit my, whatever expenses, and then it's up to the agent and go check whether that person is an employee, and obviously that's the reason that person is able to log into the Slack or whatever chat interface, and then the person does he or she has an access to that particular tool. If not, then you start from there, giving access to the tool. If they already have an access to the tool, what are their entitlements are, how much can they have, everything is actually looked at in the system, and this agent becomes smarter by the day and then becomes more useful by the day as well. So this is also in production today across our CX and EX products, and then customers really love this, right? So we spoke about 1.0, all the challenges and opportunities that we had. We spoke about also 2.0, how the whole hybrid search scenario came by with the vector search, and now we are talking about a little bit about under the hood, how we built it. So at the center of the core is Lucene, right? I think we heard Pallavi speaking about it, the amount of the performance gains and everything else. We are talking about HNSW, and then we also have metrics, and then the last one is what are the different embedding models that we using? How are we collaborating with all our product engineering teams? And they use these embedding models to actually generate very dense vectors, and then be able to actually store in the vector databases for it to be fetched later and be able to access it, right? So it's kind of a distributed model where we kind of hosted these embedding models, so people can actually call as an API and then be able to actually generate vectors and actually put it. So that way we don't have to manage everything centrally, and at the same time there is some kind of a standardization across the company where people are not using different types of embedding models where the behavior of vector database is actually varying over time. So there is a control, but it's also a distributed model overall. Right? So here is the architecture. So on the left side, you have the VPC of our product itself, like where you see the whole product is hosted, like for example, Freshservice, and then you have the querying happening from there. So, and then you basically see on the top flow is where you call the embedding model, and then you basically create the embedding and then store in the vector database, right? And that is a continuous process. Every time you have a new data set, embedding gets created and gets stored. So you basically have a richer and richer, more context-aware vector database. And on the other side, you basically, when you do a query, again, you basically have a vector service which is actually coming into picture and trying to actually fetch the relevant article. And then over time, it becomes more relevant and more useful, as I spoke, right? So this is more specific to Freshservice, virtual agent, VA we call it. Or an agent, and it's architecture, right? So if you look at on the rightmost box, you look at it's a hybrid search. You see images, you see documents, videos, everything else, right? The entire data. We're talking about petabytes of data that is in the company. And then you also have a query intent querying, which is actually hitting a small puppy logo that you see. It's actually our Freddy, right? And it's actually hitting a LLM. So every time a user is asking a question, and now we are actually with a sub-millisecond latency querying an LLM or an SLM to just find out what the intent is and come back, and with that intent, so your query is enriched, your prompt is enriched and sent it to your vector database. So the results are actually much more richer. And because I can always say, hey, I'm feeling bored, like I want to book some tickets, right? So very vague. So those kind of queries will come up in the future, right? People don't want to give full context. It's like Gen Z or Gen Alpha, if you look at how they chat on Instagram, you understand what I'm talking about, right? Most of it is not English. So it's all about intent, and we try our best to find out what the intent is, right? So this is about what future holds. But another I think quick thing in the previous one also I wanted to quickly cover was with all this happening, we also have one more component called federated search. Federated search is all about, like I said, we have close to 70,000 customers, and each of the customers may have their own Confluence, their own OneDrive, their own Google Drive, and everything else where they have their data. So when their customers are asking for a question, our customer expect we search in their own data sources as well to find the relevance. For example, I have a customer who is actually using my tool for applying leaves, for example. So their entire leave database is in their Workday, right? So I need to be able to even search their Workday and find out if their leave balance and be able to actually answer it, right? Now we are talking about not just Freshworks' own data sources of thousands and tens of thousands of other customer data sources as well. This is called federated search. So this is another next model that we are actually building. Again, at the center of this is OpenSearch, right? So this is where the future is, right? We are looking at how do we increase the scale, reduce the cost, but then keep looking at the newer and newer tech as we go. That will actually help us meet the requirement of the petabytes of data that is actually going to come in the future, right? So like you can see all these great numbers here. We are talking about 200 milliseconds, 9.5x faster at the stage 5. So our team is super excited about this whole journey. looking at, hey, how do we space this out in every quarter, in every year, and how do we actually make this incremental goal? And our goal as a technologist is to stay 2 steps ahead of what business can ask for. Not the reactive way. Business is coming and asking, hey, I need you to solve this problem. Customer is asking, bring your own key, can you actually implement it? Oh, now I look at it and say like, hey, there's so much tech debt that I have. Rather, hey, you know what? Our solution is already built and ready to actually go, right? So with that, just summing it up, federated search, that just works, which means that irrespective of number of customers that are there, it just works. And then there is an action framework. Now we are talking about agents that can actually perform actions, where agent can go and book tickets and apply leaves and so on and so forth, right? Now it will become a complex actions. The third one is a multi-agent, long-term memory, and agents which actually can network, they are social, they talk to each other and they get stuff done. So tomorrow you will see companies where there is nothing but all agents only, there are no human beings except for the founder, right? So all that scenarios, how are you going to actually power using the features that we have, right? So before we conclude, you could actually scan this. This is basically a 2 weeks trial of our fresh service product, which is one of the best in the planet. You can feel free to sign up. This is for this audience exclusively. We'll also air this on the this thing as well. Sorry, if you have not done this yet. Okay, my time is up, but here are my coordinates, and thank you so much for being awesome audiences, and it is wonderful sharing our experiences with all of you.